Warning, this is basically how to not design a network. You have been warned.
What's up guys, Jack here with MTS, and seeing as we just moved out of our house, I feel like it's probably a good time to show you guys the first network I ever did. This house. So going into this, I knew nothing about networking. The only thing I knew about networking was, well, the AT&T router sucks and running a cable to things is better. I had done a bunch of wiring work in the past. I've been doing structured cabling since I was like 5 because people really like the teachable nerd kid that can fit into small spaces. So I had experience doing the wiring stuff, mostly for AV, but I'd never terminated a network cable. I had never done any of this before. But without further ado, let's get into seeing my first ever network. Alright, so starting things off here in the garage, this used to be my dad's workbench, so I ran a network cable out here for his computer. And then moving along, this cable was just ran behind all the shelves that used to be here. Here we have 2 ports that I put in that were going to be extended up to security cameras we were going to add later, but we ended up selling the place before we ever got around to putting in the security cameras. So these ports have pretty much just always been dormant. And then coming inside, starting off at the kitchen, well, there's also the laundry room, but there's nothing happening in here. There's also nothing happening in the kitchen either. There's a little desk that my mom used to use a little bit, so she didn't have a laptop or a computer down here, so we didn't bother putting networking or anything in here. But yeah, this is our kitchen, or was our kitchen. Coming into the living room here, this is where things started. So let's just take a look at where the AT&T stuff came in. So all the AT&T stuff came in right over here on this really terrible external box. Not sure why they did this, but that's what they did. And so we had a bunch of cables. We had like the router here and all that stuff. And so I ended up pulling that out. I made adapter cables that take 2 phone jacks and convert them to RJ45. And then I put in some network jacks just hot glued and shimmed in here. That used to be just kind of loosely hanging down here, but I ended up just integrating them into this box. Then those just kind of poke through the floor. You can see I used a bunch of different colors of cable. So we got yellow here for these jacks. And yeah, so this allowed me to relocate the router to downstairs where all my networking stuff was, which was really nice. So this just had the 2 cables coming out of here, feeding into this network jack, and then this network jack had an APAC Pro sitting right here. And that handled Wi-Fi for pretty much all of the first floor. This is the living room. There's nothing happening in here at all. But this is where the TV used to be in the family room. Couch was right there. And so I ran a number of network jacks over here. First off, we have this cable, and yes, this is just a direct line downstairs. And you can pull this out. There's probably about 15 feet of cable down, hidden in the ceiling of the basement, but the floor of down here. So yeah, you can pull this all out. And then there's a little blue line that I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see, but that line is just a spare line and it doesn't go to anything, but it's there. And then this little box here has 2 other network jacks. So I didn't want to have to put a switch behind the TV, so I just ran like 4 network lines over here, but I've only ever used 3 of them. And then making our way throughout the first floor, we'll get to the basement at the end because that's where all the fun happens. This is the dining room, nothing happening in here. So let's move upstairs. Moving upstairs, this is my mom's office. There's no networking jacks in here. We did use a power line adapter just to, give the printer a wired network because the Wi-Fi in it is awful and likes to disconnect all the time. And then there's my parents' bedroom, which never had any networking in it. It's just a bedroom. And then there's their bathroom and their closet in there. Got the hall closet right here. The guest bedroom. The guest bedroom vent. The return vent here is how all of my cables get downstairs. You can see them in there. And then there's the closet. So kind of a funny story. There used to be an Ethernet cable that ran between these 2 rooms. And I'll explain that more in just a second. So then let's move into my bedroom. And my bedroom has some interesting stuff happening. Starting off in the closet, I had a network line ran in here, and then I terminated it to a wall plate and everything. I originally had just stabbed a hole in between the closet and my bedroom to run power and some other networking stuff, but I ended up just filling it in with a wall plate and putting a network jack there, and that goes downstairs. Then coming into my room itself, Well, this is where my desk was. My bed was over there in the corner, and this was all the networking that I had in my room. So we had 2 network jacks, and then my fiber line was connected right in here. This wall plate, the reason why it's too wide is because there's a pipe on the other side of this right here that I originally accidentally drilled into. I didn't actually go in the pipe. It's not punctured at all. It's not even a scratch on it, but I couldn't put the network jacks here, so I had to move them over, and I just put a wall plate here to cover it up. And then this mess right here. This was originally how I got networking into my room for internet. So I just converted my phone line into an Ethernet line. And this cable has 3 pairs, but those 3 pairs aren't enough to run gigabit. So I was only able to get 10/100, which is fine because our internet speed wasn't faster than that. So for internet, this was great. But when I started looking to, do more in terms of storage, well, then I needed gigabit or something faster. So that's where the line that goes between my closet and the guest bedroom closet came in. So I had a network cable running through this hole in the wall that used to be there, around my room and to my desk. And then I also had this one for internet. So that gave me internet, and this line that ran into the guest bedroom closet had a server in there. And by server, I mean it was a Dell Optiplex that had a gigabit network connected to it, and then it also had a 6 terabyte hard drive in it. That was fine for me because I used this as my primary editing server, and then nightly it would sync to one downstairs over the 10/100 connection. And then moving out of here, well, up in my attic is where the second APAC Pro was. I did pull that out a while ago, and it lived in my closet for a little bit just so I wouldn't forget about it, but yeah, there are a couple extra network lines that run up to the attic just for future expansion, because I did, know about future expansion, so there are extra network jacks up there. And now I think it's time to go down to the basement where all of the magic really happens. So we just go down the stairs. All right, so this is the basement. Let's just start things off here with the movie room. So the movie room, we got the big movie room couch, reclining couch. It's awesome. We got the 3 zones for lighting. So the front, middle, back. And then we also have some networking jacks. This was one of the first ones I ever actually installed, because on the other side of this wall is the open area of the basement. It was the unfinished side, so I had easy access to this wall to run a network jack to. So yeah, we have a red keystone that's upside down in this plate that's basically, don't do this, like, ever. And then over here, there's another network jack that runs out of the wall. This is a fiber HDMI cable just that goes up to the projector up there. We're leaving that in place for the new owners of this house, just, because we're nice like that. But yeah, so this other network jack just came out of the wall, and it's also labeled. But now let's see where the magic really kind of happened, which was the big open space. So this was done pretty soon after we bought the house. We put in this room because the basement was entirely unfinished. Then we finished this side of things, and it kind of became my dungeon, if you will. So I had networking ran over here. We have a network jack that goes to the back room, and then this other one does as well, but the keystone is up in the wall because I didn't have a 4-port wall plate. So I just extended it out with a cable, but there is a keystone in there. Then moving up, we have a brush plate so you can run cables down. We also have in-ceiling speakers and everything, so sound pretty nice. We had the big speakers over here, and the whole unit that you might have seen up here, the big black box, that was a subwoofer cabinet with 4 18-inch subwoofers, so sounded pretty good and rattled the snot out of these windows. But so I have power up here, and then HDMI and networking ran through the wall, just dropped down. But you might have noticed this HDMI port right here. This HDMI port comes over to where I had a desk set up down here. And so this allowed me to directly jack in my computer. This port is just a cable ran through the wall over to that one. So that way I could plug my computer directly into the TV. Then I had this network jack that I put in, and then I added these 2 later because I ran some pull lines. So I have 3 network jacks over here and HDMI that goes over to the TV. Then Coming into the closet, we have even more network jacks because I put 2 network jacks up into the closet because I'm weird like that. But one of the things that I did was I had a PoE extractor connected to one of these ports, and then that powered the HTC Vive Lighthouse right over here. And I just used the orange pair of Ethernet cabling to, provide the power to it. And I did something similar for the other Lighthouse in terms of using the Ethernet cable to power it. So behind this detachable wall panel is our breaker box, and there's also an outlet. So I plugged in the Vive power adapter, the Lighthouse power adapter, ran it into a little power extension that I made with, again, the orange pair of an Ethernet cable, and then that sent power right through up here to where the Lighthouse was. The Vive Lighthouse was where that screw is. And so with the lights off, you could kind of see the 2 orange wires, but as soon as the light turns on, you couldn't see that cable at all. It was like I had an invisible cable and just that the Vive Lighthouse thing was just floating. So now let's see where everything kind of connected. And then this right here is where all my network cables run to. I have 3 lines that come here, and these are the lines that go over to the desk, or where the desk used to be back there. And then this is a pull line, which is just old Cat 5, that goes into the sump pump closet so that way I can run new lines in the future. But when I first did all this networking, I just had all the cables draping out of the ceiling right here before the bathroom was put in. And then so about 6 months before we decided to finish the basement, I put a patch panel up in the rafters. Stupid? Absolutely. Don't put a patch panel in the rafters. Learn from that mistake. And so I lost access to all of that cabling as soon as the bathroom went in. But in order for me to still have access to this without having to climb up on a ladder and dig in right up there, I used this. I made an Ethernet cable snake, and so this was a 10-pack of 20-foot Amazon Basics Ethernet cables. I cut them in half, re-terminated the other end, numbered them, and made this snake loom. And so that plugged into the patch panel up there, and then there was a folding table right back here, and that had my switch on it and my server, and then whatever else I was testing, but it also had my router on it as well. And yeah, so this really was the saving grace that allowed me to keep being able to access all of my networking stuff after my dumbass put the patch panel up in the rafters and then we built a bathroom around it. So, just like, don't do that. Just put everything in a sensible place. One of the things that I was gonna do right before my dad said, hey, we're moving, was I was gonna put a network rack right on this wall. That was gonna have the switch, router, and everything in there, and I was gonna extend those cables to a new patch panel. But seeing as I was told, hey, we're moving, start packing your stuff, that never ended up happening. But anyway, guys, thanks for coming on this little tour of my terrible first network. It was a learning experience, and I absolutely learned what not to do in the future. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and drop a like. If you really liked it and want to see more of me in your subscription feed, well, you can go ahead and get subscribed. I'm not gonna have links to anything in the description below except for the tools that I currently use, and if you somehow wanna hire me after seeing this, take a look at some of my other work. It's a much better representation of what I can do now. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching. Go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know what your first network looked like, if it looked anywhere close to mine. I hope not. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.